be here, nervous but excited, because back in those days, I would have never imagined to be here in this platform, talking about something that I am currently passionate about, which is mental health. So, like any other mental health practitioners or advocates out there, let me start off with a simple questions to all of you here. How are you all today? Great, good. Yeah, I kind of hear a mix of reaction because that is a most common question that we will ask people. Or sometimes people are asking us for that questions. And sometimes people will answer that question with, I'm not okay, right? And most of us will try to listen. Or sometimes we will tell them, hey, please seek professional help, please seek therapy. So let me ask you another question. Is therapy important? Yes. It is, yes. The simplest answer to that is therapy, it is important. So imagine therapy is quite similar with being in a journey. So imagine like you are going into a journey and you are walking towards the end of the journey. But in order for you to go to that end of the journey, there are several paths, there are several ways to go there. And some paths, some ways can be a little bit challenging or scary, so you need someone that can help to navigate or someone that can help to facilitate the journey that you have. And that's therapy. So therapy helps to navigate your situation, your emotions, or to change your thinking pattern as well. But seeking therapy is not easy as we think it is, because we do not know what to expect, right? When we are in this therapy session, it can be a very scary thing to do. And that is a pretty rich statement coming from me actually, because I am one of those mental health advocates and also a practitioner who talks about the importance of seeking therapy like 24/7 of my life. But then, I also have my own journey of seeking therapy. And the journey is not easy as everyone thinks. It is not in a straight line as well. So let me share you a story, a brief story about me. But bear in mind, the things that I will mention may be a little bit triggering or not comfortable to hear. So if you need to step away or step back, please take your time to do that. Okay? Right, cool. So I grew up in a very typical Asian family. So like any other kids, like any other young adults out here, I study hard, I played even harder, and I also stumbled from bicycles hundreds of times. I think until to this day, I do not know how to ride bicycles properly. I guess I do not have the bucket for them to do that. But as I grew up, I started to feel a bit different, extremely different. And I know everyone is unique, but mine is more towards the feeling of different. I was a bubbly child who loved to communicate, who loved to talk, but I started to be distant from people. I play alone, I stay alone, I do not know what is going on with me. But what I do know, I feel stress and sadness. And some of you may wonder, what do a kid like me understand about stress? I don't even need to pay for my own meal, my parents who bought all my meal, my clothes and everything. But it didn't happen. I felt different. And I don't exactly remember when it happened, but it started around 6 or 7 years old, and that's pretty young, right? It's very young. So, when it comes to talking about mental health and mental illnesses, people don't really understand. So basically, no one at that time understood that I have developed symptoms of mental illnesses and I needed help. Because the conversation about mental health, the awareness about mental health at that time was fairly low. And even today, the awareness is quite better, but it is still challenging, right, for all of us here to acknowledge we, our parents, our children, our partners, our siblings, our friends, everyone needed help. When it comes to mental health and mental illnesses, it can happen for many reasons. Maybe because of environmental stress, maybe because of studying, maybe also because of the relationship, trauma, and so on. And it can also happen because of genetics. It can also happen because of chemical imbalance as well. And it can also happen to children as well. So, at the age of 13, coming back to my story, trigger warning, I started to develop suicidal behavior. I started to self-harm without knowing why I wanted to self-harm. And I self-harm because I wanted to self-harm. My low mood became much lower. So at the age of 16, I started to get sick more often, headache and so on. My sleeping pattern was extremely haywire. So my parents, I'm quite blessed having someone who understands me. They are quite concerned with my well-being, so they decided to do a proper medical checkup. So I went for several tests, warded in the private hospital. So guess what happened from the result? What do you all think? Yes, total silence, because there's nothing wrong with the result. Exactly. Everything was great. My blood test was great. We even did MRI, everything was great. So the doctor suggested for me to do therapy. But instead of me immediately saying, yes, let's do that, I didn't agree to that at all. Because why? Like any other Asian family out there, we don't talk about our sickness, we don't talk about our emotional well-being, we don't even acknowledge how life can be challenging. So I do not have any language, I do not know what to say to people. I do not have the right language to tell people, hey, I needed help. And I was so afraid that if I seek help, people will start to label me as crazy, right? So at that time I realized one thing. I was so afraid to know about my own condition. And over the years, after being a mental health practitioner and advocate right now, I realized the important elements of seeking therapy is not seeking the therapy itself, but rather to have the intention to seek therapy, to have the emotional preparation to seek therapy, and also to have the time and effort to learn, unlearn, and relearn, because everyone here deserves to feel at peace from within, deserves to feel happy in their own peace. And it's not easy, because the awareness, those important elements I've mentioned, needs to start at a very young age. So how do we create the awareness on mental health, and how do we able to normalize therapy? There are two steps. First, what everyone here can do is to normalize the conversation about mental health. So let's start talking about mental health in our homes, in our schools, with friends, companies, and everywhere. So when we start talking about mental health, we open up a discourse about what is mental health, what is mental illnesses, what are the symptoms of mental health, and also what is therapy. And when we start talking about it casually, people will start to open their eyes and acknowledge that, hey, mental health is important and seeking therapy is a norm. It's something that everyone should do, right? So the second step would be to debunk all the stigma when it comes to mental health. Because right now, there are so many misconceptions about mental health and misconceptions about therapy as well. I have like three main misconceptions that I often hear when I'm doing my therapy session. So the first one is therapy is only for people who have mental illnesses. Despite my top story, therapy or counseling can be used for many reasons. You can do therapy for interpersonal or personal issues, maybe about relationship, trauma, family, or even mental illnesses. There's no boundaries to talk about your issues. Second, I have friends and family, so I do not need therapy. You know, having friends and families are great. They are the greatest support system that we could ever have if they understand the issues that we have. But they are not counselors, they are not psychiatrists, they are not clinical psychologists. Mental health practitioners can help to unpack all those complex feelings, all those irrational thinking patterns through a series of intervention and also exploration as well. Okay, my most favorite misconception is my case is not serious enough to seek therapy. Everyone also have the same issues with me, so I do not need to seek therapy. You know, there is no such thing as not too serious or too serious to seek therapy. If our issues is impacting us, it is good, right, to talk to someone about it, to feel better about it, to able to navigate the issues that we have. So, coming back to my story, I did manage to seek therapy. I have this one determination at that time. I wanted to learn more about myself. And I went to the therapy alone without a parent. And I received my diagnosis after more than 10 years of developing those symptoms. And I went to several therapy sessions. I learned about my coping mechanism, my own defense mechanism, and also things that I can and cannot control, my irrational thinking pattern as well, and so on. And I wouldn't lie that I stumbled hundreds of times. I relapsed hundreds of times as well, but I also managed to be happy and to be here today talking about the importance of therapy. So now, at the age of 31, yes, I may look young, but I'm already 31, I co-founded Minda Kami, a mental health literacy, providing mental health literacy program for youth in Malaysia. And I'm also in my journey to be a good counselor so that people can trust, people can talk to me about their issues as well. So therapy has helped me for open my eyes for endless possibilities. And it also a reason why I'm here and being in the same field talking about therapy to other people as well. So it is never too late or too early to seek therapy. If needed, please seek therapy. Okay? And let's do our part in normalizing the conversation about therapy and also to debunk all those stigma when it comes to therapy. Thank you.